I moved it. My mother said it the way someone mentions they'd rearranged the furniture. Usual. Matter of fact. Like it was the most logical thing in the world. I was standing in the kitchen of my childhood home, my phone in my hand, my banking app still open on the screen. The balance was wrong. Lower than it should have been. Way lower. What do you mean you moved it? My voice came out quieter than I intended. She was wiping down the counter, not even looking at me. Your income. I redirected it into the family account. It made more sense that way. Simpler. Heat rushed up my neck. My ears started ringing. I stared at the number on my screen, then at her, then back at the screen. You redirected my paycheck. Yes. She folded the dish towel neatly and hung it on the oven handle. We discussed this, Alexis. The family needed help. You said you wanted to contribute. I hadn't said that. Not like this. Not ever. My older brother, Tyler, was sitting at the table scrolling his phone. My father was in the living room watching television. Neither of them looked up. Neither of them seemed surprised. The betrayal wasn't just what she'd done. It was that no one else thought it was wrong. The room went quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator. My mother turned to face me, her expression calm, patient, like I was the one being unreasonable. How long has this been happening? Yes. A few months, she said. Maybe 3. 3 months. My stomach dropped. I'd been wondering why my paychecks felt smaller. Why I couldn't save as much as I thought I should. Why my budget never seemed to balance right. I blamed myself. Thought I was spending too much. Thought I wasn't being careful enough. But it wasn't me. It was her. Did you ask me? My voice was shaking now. She sighed like I was being difficult. Alexis, you're part of this family. We all contribute. I didn't think I needed permission to manage family finances. It's my money. It's family money, she corrected. And I'm managing it responsibly. Tyler finally looked up. Why are you making this a big deal? Mom's just trying to help everyone. I looked at him. Then at my father, who still hadn't moved from the couch. Then back at my mother, who was already turning away like the conversation was over. This wasn't impulsive. This was planned. Calculated. And I was the only one who seemed to think it was wrong. I walked outside before I said something I couldn't take back. The air was cooler than I expected. My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped my phone. I stood on the front porch, gripping the railing, trying to breathe. My chest felt tight. My thoughts were spinning. She'd taken my money. Without asking. Without explaining. And she'd done it for months while I trusted her. While I blamed myself for feeling broke. Then, in the middle of the panic, a thought landed. Dark. Cold. Terrifyingly calm. My mother redirected my income. So I stopped the source. I didn't know yet how I'd do it. I didn't have a plan. But standing there, staring at the street, I realized something important. She controlled the account. But I controlled whether the money went into it in the first place. She thought I'd accept this. She thought I'd stay quiet like I always did. She thought I'd keep working, keep earning, keep filling the account she'd taken over. She was wrong. My name is Alexis King. I'm 28 years old. I work as a medical billing specialist for a hospital in the suburbs. It's not glamorous, but it's steady. The pay is decent. I handle insurance claims, process payments, and make sure everything gets coded correctly. I'm good at my job. Really good. I show up on time. I don't miss deadlines. I don't cause drama. I'm the person managers trust to handle complicated cases because they know I won't mess them up. That reliability bled into my personal life too. I was the daughter who helped without being asked. The one who showed up early to family events. The one who remembered birthdays and offered to pick up groceries when my mother was tired. I never thought twice about giving her access to my bank account. It started years ago when I was still in college. She helped me set it up. Showed me how to manage it. Made sure I understood deposits and withdrawals. At some point, her name stayed on the account. For emergencies, she'd said. Just in case. I trusted her. Why wouldn't I? She was my mother. I didn't know trust could be weaponized until it was too late. I remembered the first time I gave money to the family. I was 19, working part-time at a coffee shop while taking classes. My mother had mentioned the electricity bill was higher than expected. She didn't ask me to help. She just mentioned it. So I offered, pulled $60 from my tips and handed it to her. She'd smiled, hugged me, told me I was selfless, responsible, a good daughter. Felt good. Being praised. Being needed. Being the one who could fix things. After that, it became routine. Car repair here. Credit card payment there. Small amounts. Never enough to hurt me, but always enough to help them. And every time my mother told me how grateful she was. How proud. How lucky they were to have a daughter like me. I didn't realize that help was turning into expectation. That offering was becoming obligation. That being praised for giving meant I'd eventually be punished for stopping. The shift was so gradual I didn't see it happening. By the time I noticed, it was already too late. The shared account started when I graduated college and got my first real job. My mother suggested it during dinner one night. It'll be easier, she'd said. For family expenses. Emergencies. That way we're not constantly asking each other for money. It made sense at the time. We were a family. Families helped each other. And having one account meant less hassle. Less back and forth. I signed the paperwork without reading it closely. Added my direct deposit information. Watched my first paycheck land in the joint account. First I still had access. Could log in. Check the balance. Transfer money to my personal spending account when I needed it. But over time my access started to feel secondary. My mother changed the password once and forgot to tell me the new one for 2 weeks. When I asked, she said she'd thought she'd already given it to me. Then she started handling all the transfers. Said it was easier if she managed it since she was home more often. I didn't fight it. I trusted her. And honestly, it was easier. I didn't have to think about bills or budgets. She handled it. I just worked and deposited my check. Until the day I realized my money wasn't going where I thought it was going. The first time I felt uneasy, I was standing in a grocery store. I just swiped my debit card for a small purchase. Bread, eggs, milk, and it declined. I tried again. Declined. My face burned. Cashier looked sympathetic. The person behind me sighed impatiently. I mumbled an apology and left without buying anything. Outside, I checked my banking app. The balance was lower than I remembered. Not by much, but enough to notice. Called my mother. "Oh, I moved some money around," she said lightly. "Don't worry. I'll transfer it back later." She did. Few days later. And I convinced myself it was fine. Just a miscommunication. Temporary thing. But the uneasy feeling stayed. A little knot in my stomach that wouldn't go away. I ignored it. Because acknowledging it meant questioning my mother. And questioning my mother felt like betraying her. So I swallowed the feeling. Told myself I was being paranoid. Told myself everything was fine. It wasn't. The withdrawals became more frequent. Small amounts at first. 20 here. 50 there. Enough to notice but not enough to panic. When I asked about them, my mother always had an explanation. The water heater needed repairs. Your father's medication went up. Tyler needed help with his rent. Each explanation sounded reasonable. And each time I felt guilty for even asking. Like I was being selfish. Like I was questioning whether my family deserved help. So I stopped asking. I told myself it didn't matter. I was still getting paid. I still had enough for my own expenses. And helping my family was the right thing to do. But deep down I knew something was wrong. I knew the amounts didn't add up. I knew my paychecks should have been covering more than they were. I just didn't want to admit it. Because admitting it meant facing the truth. And the truth was terrifying. One night I sat down with my laptop and pulled up my pay stubs. All of them. Going back 6 months. I compared them to my bank statements. To the deposits. To the balances. The numbers didn't lie. My paychecks were going into the family account. But I wasn't seeing most of it. The money was being moved, but redirected. And none of it was going where my mother said it was. There were charges I didn't recognize. Purchases I hadn't made. Transfers to accounts I didn't have access to. My hands started shaking. My throat felt tight. This wasn't just financial mismanagement. This wasn't just my mother being disorganized. This was theft. She was taking my income, spending it however she wanted, and lying to me about where it was going. Closed the laptop, sat in the dark, felt the weight of it all pressing down on my chest. I'd trusted her, completely, and she'd betrayed me in the worst possible way. I confronted her the next morning, calmly, carefully. I didn't yell. I didn't accuse. Just asked. Mom, I looked at my bank statements. I'm not seeing most of my paycheck. Where is it going? She didn't even flinch. I've been managing expenses, she said. The family account covers a lot of things. Groceries, utilities, insurance, your father's medical bills, Tyler's car payment. But that's my money. It's family money, she corrected again. You live here. You benefit from these expenses. You're contributing to the household. I stared at her. I didn't agree to contribute my entire paycheck. She sighed. Alexis, you're being dramatic. This is how families work. Everyone pitches in. By taking my income without asking. Her expression hardened. I didn't take anything. I redirected it. There's a difference. There wasn't. Not to me. But she believed it. She genuinely believed she was right. That managing my money without my permission was responsible. Logical. Fair. And that scared me more than anything. Later that week my aunt visited. My mother brought up the disagreement during dinner. Alexis is upset that I've been managing the family account, she said, her tone light. Amused even. My aunt frowned. Why would she be upset? I don't know. My mother shook her head. I've been so careful with the budget, making sure everything's covered. But she seems to think I'm doing something wrong. I sat there, silent, as my mother painted herself as the victim, the responsible one, the one trying to hold the family together while her ungrateful daughter complained. My aunt looked at me. Alexis, your mother works hard to keep this family running. You should appreciate that. I didn't respond. What was the point? My mother had already framed the narrative. I was the selfish daughter. She was the martyr. No one asked to see the bank statements. No one asked how much of my paycheck I was actually keeping. No one questioned her version of events. And I realized something important. She wasn't just taking my money. She was taking my credibility too. I stopped arguing after that. I stopped defending myself. I stopped trying to explain. I just went quiet. At first my mother seemed pleased. She probably thought I'd accepted the situation. That I'd realized she was right. She had no idea what silence actually meant. Silence wasn't agreement. Silence was observation, planning, waiting. I started paying attention to everything. How she talked about money. How she justified expenses. How she reacted when I asked questions. She was confident, comfortable. She believed she had control. And she did. For now. But control is fragile. It only works as long as the other person cooperates. And I was done cooperating. I went through everything. Every document I could find. Pay stubs, tax forms, bank statements. I made copies. Saved them to a cloud account my mother didn't know existed. I needed proof. Not just for myself. But in case I needed to show someone else. Lawyer. Bank. Anyone. I found things I hadn't expected. Charges to online shopping sites. Payments to credit cards I didn't know existed. Transfers to accounts that weren't mine. My mother wasn't just managing family expenses. She was using my income like it was hers. Spending it on things that had nothing to do with bills or emergencies. Clothes, furniture, vacations Tyler had taken last year. She'd been lying about all of it. And I finally understood something crucial. She didn't see my income as mine. She saw it as hers. Because I'd given her access. Because I'd trusted her. Because I'd been too naive to protect myself. That was my mistake. But it was one I was about to fix. I called my bank during my lunch break. Spoke to a representative in the customer service department. I have a question about direct deposits, I said. If I want to change where my paycheck goes, what do I need to do? The woman on the phone was friendly. Professional. You'd need to contact your employer's payroll department and provide new account information. It's usually a simple form. And I don't need anyone's permission. Even if the current account is joint. No, she said. Your income is yours. You can direct it wherever you want. I thanked her and hung up. It was that simple. That easy. My mother had convinced me that the family account was permanent. That I was obligated. That I didn't have a choice. But I did. I'd always had one. I just hadn't used it yet. The next day, I opened a new bank account. At a different bank. One my mother had no connection to. The process took less than an hour. I filled out paperwork. Provided my ID. Set up online access. The account was mine. Only mine. No joint ownership. No secondary names. For the first time in years, I had a bank account my mother couldn't touch. Felt like breathing after holding my breath for too long. I didn't tell her. I didn't tell anyone. I just opened the account, got the routing number and kept it to myself. Because the next step was the one that would change everything. And I needed to be ready. Waited. Let the next pay cycle approach. I watched my mother. Watched how she moved through the house. How she talked about upcoming expenses. How she planned around money she assumed was coming. She was already counting on my next paycheck. Already planning how to spend it. She had no idea it wasn't coming. At work I kept my head down. Focused on my tasks. Smiled when people asked how I was doing. No one knew. No one suspected. And that was exactly how I wanted it. I filled out the direct deposit form during my lunch break. Sat in my car. Filled in the new account information. Signed at the bottom. One form. One change. That was all it took to redirect the source. I turned it in to payroll that afternoon. The woman at the desk barely looked at it. "This'll take effect next pay period," she said, stamping it and filing it away. "Thank you." I walked back to my desk, sat down, opened a spreadsheet, and waited. Payday came 2 weeks later. I checked my new account that morning. The deposit was there. My full paycheck. Every cent. I stared at the number. My chest felt tight. Not from fear. From relief. This was mine. Actually mine. I didn't check the family account. I didn't need to. I already knew what it would show. Nothing. For the first time in months, my mother's account would stay empty. And she'd have no idea why. The call came that afternoon. "Alexis, did payroll mess something up?" My mother's voice was calm. Confused but not worried yet. "What do you mean? Your deposit didn't come through. Are you sure?" "Yes, I'm sure." "Check twice. Did you talk to them? Maybe there's a delay." Kept my voice steady. Neutral. "I don't think so. I got paid." Silence. "What do you mean you got paid?" "I got my paycheck. It went into my account." "The family account." "No. My account." Another pause. Longer this time. "Alexis, what did you do?" "I redirected my income," I said calmly. "The same way you did." She hung up. The messages started within the hour. "You can't do this. The bills are due. This is incredibly selfish. You're hurting the entire family." I didn't respond. I just read each one, saved them, and moved on with my day. My father called next. "Alexis, your mother's very upset. What's going on?" "I moved my paycheck to my own account." "Why would you do that?" "Because it's my money." He sighed. "You're making this harder than it needs to be. Just put it back." "No." Alexis. Hung up. Tyler texted. "Really? You're doing this now?" "Mom's freaking out." I wrote back, "She took my income without asking. I'm taking it back." He didn't respond after that. My mother showed up at my workplace the next day. I saw her through the glass doors of the lobby. She looked furious. I met her outside. Kept my voice low. Professional. You can't be here, I said. You redirected your paycheck. Yes. Without telling me. The same way you redirected it without telling me. Her jaw clenched. That's different. How? Because I'm your mother. I was managing it responsibly. You were spending it however you wanted, I corrected. On things that had nothing to do with family expenses. She stared at me. You don't understand how hard it is to keep this family afloat. Then maybe you should have been honest about where my money was going. She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. You're destroying this family, she said quietly. No, I replied. I'm protecting myself. Left. I went back inside. And for the first time I felt clear. The fallout came fast. My aunt called. Your mother's devastated. You need to apologize. For what? For cutting her off. For making her look like a villain. I didn't make her anything, I said. I just stopped letting her take my money. That's not how family works, Alexis. Then maybe I don't want to be part of this family. She hung up. Tyler called next. Angrier. You're making everything harder for no reason. She was stealing from me. She was managing finances. Without my permission. He didn't have an answer for that. My father tried one more time. Can't you just fix this? No. Why not? Because I'm done being the person who fixes things for everyone else. He sighed. You're being stubborn. I'm being smart. Over the next month, I heard things through the grapevine. Bills bounced. Plans fell through. My mother had to borrow money from friends. Tyler moved back home because he couldn't afford rent. My father picked up extra shifts. My mother stopped posting on social media. Stopped hosting dinners. Stopped acting like everything was fine. I didn't feel guilty. I didn't feel victorious. I just felt free. Because this wasn't revenge. This was consequence. She'd built a system that depended on my obedience. On my silence. On my unwillingness to say no. And when I finally said no, the system collapsed. That wasn't my fault. It was hers. I moved out 3 months later. Found a small apartment across town. 1 bedroom. Affordable. I furnished it slowly. Bought a couch from a thrift store. Hung curtains I picked out myself. Set up a budget that actually worked because no one was siphoning money I didn't agree to give. For the first time in years I could breathe. I checked my bank account without anxiety. I made purchases without worrying someone else had already spent the money. Save. Actually saved. And the best part. No one could touch it. No one could redirect it. No one could take it without asking. It was mine. Completely. Finally. I haven't spoken to my mother since I moved out. She's sent messages. Apologies that don't mention what she's apologizing for. Requests to talk things through. I don't respond. Not because I hate her. But because I know what talking things through means. It means going back. It means pretending it didn't happen. It means letting her believe that control is the same as love. I'm not that person anymore. Access isn't love. And control isn't family. Those 2 sentences are written in a notebook I keep by my bed. Reminder. Boundary. My mother thought I'd never push back. She thought I was too compliant. Too eager to please. Too afraid of conflict. She was wrong. And the moment she redirected my income, the moment she assumed I'd accept it, she lost the one thing that kept her system running. Me. Not because I destroyed her. But because I finally chose myself.